All right, this is part two. If you want to see part one, which you should see if you're on part two and haven't seen part one, look at the comment section below. It's pinned there, and in the description box, it's pinned. It's left there as well. All right, part two of my testimony of coming to Christ. I was out of school while people were still in school, so I would sit at home all day and watch TV movies and play video or computer games just to kill time. I literally did this 24/7 because I'm not in school anymore. So I have all the time from morning to night to do whatever I want. I can't hang out with people outside of school because they're in school. So I can't just go to my friend's house, hey, let's hang out, let's go somewhere. I have to wait until school is over to do that. And because I got so used to being by myself and isolating myself, I then didn't want to be around people because I got so comfortable being alone. I became a loner. When I was not that person, I was always outgoing, friendly, active, around people and enjoyed it. But because I isolated myself for so many hours and so many days and continually, it just became the new norm for me. I adapted. And anything outside of that was uncomfortable to me. Make sure you socialize yourself. Same thing with pets. If you don't socialize your pet, then when it's around other dogs, it's going to be uncomfortable. And it's going to enjoy being alone because that's what it's used to, isolating and being alone. But then depression can sink in and whatever else. So make sure you socialize so that way your dog is not abnormal when they're out around other dogs. Well, back then, movies and TV helped you learn right from wrong because it was the 90s and 2000s. At that point, it was 2000. Unlike what TV teaches you today, which is just wrong and sinful. Write down and Google this patent. Google US space 6506148 space B2. Look that up in the Google search and see what TV and video games and all that does to your brain. And see for yourself. So this was God's way of homeschooling me, I guess. But his way and not man-made textbooks. I never believed what those books had to say anyways. Because I learned right from wrong through TV shows that I watched, like Bill Cosby, Home Improvement, Roseanne, Step by Step, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And you learn through these shows, like you lie, this is what happens. This is the consequence you face. You cheat, this is what happens. This is the consequence you face. And it's just common sense that I don't want to face this consequence, so I'm not going to do that. Most people will take the risk and they'll do it knowing the consequence they're going to face, but I'm not foolish like that. So it made me wiser. I learned a lot more from that than I did from school, I'll tell you that much. But doing this for hours and months caused depression. I started to isolate myself from hanging out with my friends. It's like I was under some hypnotic spell and became a zombie. That's what TV is. It's a portal. It just reels you in like those spirals. That's why you're so hooked to watching. That's why you always need to watch. That's why they have TVs now at the gas station, TVs now in the bathroom, TVs now on the headrest of your car, in your car, because they always want to make sure you're being conditioned at all times, watching entertainment, being distracted from real life events, war going on, government, scandalous garbage. They don't want you to be focused on that. They want you to be tuned into this show to laugh and be happy and enjoy your miserable life. That's what they want. So I was only interested in fantasy and not reality at this point in my life. Fast forward to when I met a Mormon cult religion girl at a nightclub I went to. Her name is Hannah. We hit it off and I asked for her number. I was 16 and she was 15 at the time. She gave me her number and she said these words that I'll never forget. "You're just a player. You won't call me." Those words pierced through me like a sword because I really liked this girl. There was something different about her from the rest. She was the only girl I wasn't trying to sleep with because I respected her purity. So I didn't want her to get this impression of me. So I told her, I promise I will call you. And I did. The difference about her was the other girls gave themselves willingly because they weren't virgins. And she is a virgin. So a man who respects other women, a man who is a gentleman, respects her purity and waits on her timing. He doesn't force her, push her, manipulate her, say I love you just to get her in bed. He waits on when she's comfortable, when she wants to. And that's what I did. That's why I viewed her differently, because I was like, this is someone who's delicate to me, someone who I have to approach a different way, not aggressive, but more gentlemanlike. So she changed me from the player guy into a gentleman, which I always was a gentleman, but I became that player because of that girl I slept with, and she just broke up with me and left me on my own. She was the only girl I wasn't trying to sleep with because I respected her purity. So I didn't want her to get this impression of me. So I told her, I promise I will call you, and I did. She changed my life at that moment in my life, just like the movie A Walk to Remember. She was the Mandy Moore of my life. She changed me for the better. When I was with her, I never thought about sex. We never even talked about sex. We just enjoyed each other's company. We never fought or even argued. She turned me from a player and brought out the romantic gentleman side of me that was hidden. She was my first true love, a true blessing from God in my life back then. I told her one day I was going to marry her. However, her parents didn't accept me because I was the city boy and she was the country girl. She lived in Northfield. I lived in Northampton. So I was more city, she was more hillbilly country, whatever you want to call it. They did treat me with respect though. Part 7. My mom didn't want to drive me back and forth 45 minutes every weekend anymore. So she made us break up our relationship, kind of like the movie The Notebook. Just that part of The Notebook. So she saw me one last time and told me she wanted to lose her virginity to me. I didn't want her to make the same mistake that I did, so I told her I can't do that knowing we were breaking up. I couldn't take that from her, something so pure, something that I felt she should give to the man she's going to spend the rest of her life with. I could not do that to her. Even though the woman I did to me, she obviously didn't care. She obviously didn't have future in mind. She just had, maybe he's attractive, I want to be with him. I want to be the one that deflowers, whatever you want to call it, takes his virginity, be the first in his life. And many women are like that. And many women are toxic Jezebels like that. And she was one of them. So I'm not. So I respected it. And it was so much so that we were watching the movie, what's it called? Up Close and Personal. And she wanted to watch it completely naked. And I was like, what? This is weird. Like, why are we doing this? That was her way of trying to lure me, trying to let me know that she wanted to. But me, as the romantic guy who respected her, I didn't take that hint. I just said, okay, we're watching the movie that she wants to watch, completely naked. Okay, cool. Not to get into details like that, I'm sorry, but I'm just letting you know, like, that's how much I respected her. That we were completely unclothed and I still did not lay hands on her. I did not touch her in any way. We just cuddled and watched the movie. And after that is when she told me that she wanted to give her virginity to me. And I said, I can't do that, knowing that we're not going to stay together. I want you to give it to the person who you're going to be with for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, you'll know why in a minute, but kind of regret that. I told her I wanted to lose someone hopefully she will spend the rest of her life with and be married to, and that was it. She went home. I cried myself to sleep for months over her and resented my mother for doing this to me. Taking away my only love. This caused rebellion once again because it was a forced decision. Jezebel, control, forced decision. So I went back to sleeping around because I didn't want to love again. I didn't want my heart broken and to feel that pain ever again. That is the worst mistake you can make. Do not do that. If your heart is broken, take time to heal. But to move in emotions and say, I'm just going to sleep around now, I'm just going to give myself freely because this way I can play house and not have my heart broken, is foolish. One, you're transferring sexually transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted demons, and you're going to feel so empty being used and abused. You're getting no worth out of it. You're just using each other's body, and then that's the end of the relationship, the night, or whatever you want to call it. Do not close your heart off. I know it's easier said than done, but if you take time to heal, you will heal in a way that you will be back to normal, and that brokenness will be gone. God will heal you from that. Pray and ask him to heal you from it, and you will be healed, and you will have your heart open, and you will eventually find that right guy, or you eventually find that right girl. But to give yourself away to the world, that's stupid. I wish I hadn't done that, because now my wife, I have to look her in the face, and she was a virgin before me. She gave her virginity to me. I have to look her in the face and say, I've been with other women. I have this list. That's embarrassing. I don't want that for her. I wanted to be the guy to say, you gave yourself to me, and I gave myself to you. We saved ourselves for each other. How amazing is that? So don't let these Jezebels that come into your life, male or female, try to break your heart purposely, love bomb you, use you for sex, and then discard of you like trash. So that way your heart's broken, and that traumatic experience creates a demon in you. A demon that hates love, hates romance, has unforgiveness, has trust issues, closes themselves off, isolates, goes into depression. Don't allow that demon to be created in you. Ask God to remove this anger, remove this hurt, remove this unforgiveness, remove this pain that you're feeling. And he will, in due time. And you'll be back to your normal self. The enemy won't have his grip on you, and you will find the person you're supposed to be with if it's God's will. But at least that way you can say, I had this relationship only, and it didn't work out. But then you came into my life and you were so perfect for me. And now you're my husband, now you're my wife. And now we have beautiful children, whatever. It's a lot better than, I had a bad relationship. It ruined me. So I decided to give myself free like a prostitute to everybody else in the world before you came along. Come on, think about it. Fast forward years later, the movie The Notebook came out into theaters. I went and saw it with my best friend, and it immediately reminded me of Hannah because of our relationship being forbidden, basically. I looked her up now that I was able to drive, and I drove to her house, and because she was a virgin who gave herself to me. Her mom said she moved away. Her mom said she moved out when she was 18 with some guy. Her mom told her, one second. Her mom told her I stopped by looking for her, so she came to my house and left a note on my front door telling me to call her. So I did. I finally contacted her, and she told me that he physically abused her. It killed me to hear this. We tried to make things back to normal again, but her boyfriend was very controlling. So she gave herself to a demonic person, unfortunately, and that's why it pains me so bad. I'm glad I took the stand that I did as a gentleman, but I'm not glad that she had to give it to some, I'd love to use a cuss word right now, but I shouldn't. So, yeah, I'm just not glad about that. That's very unfortunate for her. She's a good person. She's nice. She's friendly. She deserves better. So that's very unfortunate that she gave it to some guy who's abusive. He had his friends circle me in the hallway at my friend's wrestling match that she also went to because it was in her town. And he told me what her and I had is no longer, and it's time for me to move on. So he was trying to get me out of the picture so he could just be abusive to her without anybody coming to her rescue. I did not know martial arts, so I could not take care of my own against all his friends that were circling me. So I had no choice but to back down. But that's the kind of coward he is, that he has to have his friends circle me. You know, it's a weak man. I wouldn't even call it a man. That's a boy. You deal with your problems yourself. You don't pass them on to your little minions. It's pathetic. Fast forward to when I started looking into modeling only because many girls have told me that I should. I never thought of myself in that way. Modeling never interested me. I never looked at myself in a way of vain or obsessive or anything to care about my looks. It was just like, I'm me. I wear what I want. I do my hair however I want and not feel like I have to look like a GQ model every time I leave the house. But they told me that I could make a lot of money doing it, so I gave it a shot. This is how the devil reels you in. Most demonic things, most criminal things pay a lot of money. That's how they recruit you in. They know that this world system is set up for the rich to become richer and to become elite, and for the poor to become poor, and for the middle class to become poor, or for a miracle to happen where they become rich. But it's set up in a way that you have to work 2 jobs just to get by. So you're constantly needing money. The enemy sets it up that way because it sets you up for failure. He knows you need money. He knows you'll do what you have to get the money, even if it's criminal, even if it's wrong, even if it goes against your morals, your values. You need money. So that's what he does, is he uses the things that are most degrading and pays a lot, because then your eyes open up like ka-ching, and you're like, oh, I'm interested. And that's how he gets you. This is where my life gets even darker. You thought it was dark then? Gets even darker. Modeling at first gave me this huge high of praise and attention from others that I've always been seeking throughout my life. But it didn't fill the void of loneliness and lack of love. Only Jesus can do that. The only reason it gives you this high is because people are praising your physical appearance, your outward appearance. They're not saying you're an amazing person, human being, you're a gentleman, you're this, that. They're saying you're hot, you're sexy, I like your body, you have nice abs, nice muscles, this, that. It's all about physical appearance. That's looking at you as a piece of meat, not something of value. So you allow that because obviously it feels good. Confidence, it builds up self-esteem, compliments, makes you feel good. But it's a loneliness to it because it's all physical. It's like the same concept of giving gifts or giving emotion. Giving gifts is physical. Giving emotion is internal. So view it that way, outward and inward. But it didn't fill the void of loneliness and lack of love. Only Jesus can do that. Amen. I was severely depressed and lonely. I wrote a suicide note to my dad one day and left it on the desktop of my computer. I went to the tree I always go to in order to get away from the world. I planned on climbing to the very top and jumping off the side that had no branches and ending my life. I've never been suicidal in my life before this, but my life was too overwhelming and I was taking it on all by myself. So I felt it was right to leave my dad a note because I live with just him. And if I didn't return, he would wonder and be worried about where I am. So I left a note. It was not easy to write. I didn't even think twice while writing it. I wasn't like, oh, should I be writing this? No, the devil had a grip on me so strong through every traumatic experience in my life that he was basically my assistant I was his assistant and he was telling me what to do. And I just did it. So I was writing. I don't remember what I wrote, but I said something heartfelt and, Dad, I can't do this anymore, whatever. I love you. And I went to the tree. It was raining that night. I didn't plan this in advance. You don't plan suicide. First of all, that's a cry for help, people that do that. If they make suicide known, if they plan it in advance, that's a cry for help. They're hoping that someone will care and show that they care and show that they see them and hear them and will stop them. And then after that, not will stop them and send them into a mental institution, but will actually show them love, actually care about them, have their life change completely. A huge transformation. Because if you show you care just for the moment to stop them, and then it goes back to the same life that they were living before, they're going to go right back to being suicidal again. So I didn't want to be stopped. I wanted to end my life. And people that do that, they do it in the moment, and they don't let anybody know. Because if they let people know, they know that person will stop them. And if they want to do what they want to do, they don't want people to stop them. But the people that let it be known, they want to be stopped. They just don't know how to say it. So remember that. So I didn't plan it. It just happened to be raining. Oh well, today's the day. As I was climbing up, I slipped. God's warning, because it was raining. I didn't plan to slip. That slip gave me a reality check. Is this really what you want? Because I was in control. I felt like I was in control. God's always in control. But I felt like I was in control. Now I'm going to go to the top of this tree, and I'm going to go to the side that has absolutely no branches. Because if there's branches, it can stop my fall. And I can get injured. I don't want to be injured the rest of my life in a wheelchair. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to end my life. I'm going to be done. I'm going to hit the ground, and I'm done. I'm out. Not injured. And it was that high up that if I'd fall that far, I'm dead automatically. So when I fell on the part that had branches, that was not my plan. That was the opposite of my plan. So that gave me a wake-up call of like, whoa, I almost fell just now. And I was a little high up. I was like halfway, I think. And then I was like, do I really want to do this? But I was so angry. I was so lonely. I had so much going on in my head that the enemy just kept pushing me forward. And I said, okay, I slipped. I'm still going to the top. I'm still doing this. It felt like a job I was trying to complete, a mission that I had to do. And I didn't want to fail, as in like back out. And that's how he made it feel. He made it feel like I was getting a promotion if I do this. I was going to get my own business if I do this. I was going to be king of the world if I do this. And that's because that's his way of motivating you to kill yourself. So he either takes that approach, or he takes the approach of making you feel like absolute garbage. No one loves you. No one cares about you. You just end your life. No one's going to even know you're gone. No one calls you. No one hangs out with you. You're isolated at school. Don't listen to those lies. That's his way of manipulating your mind into your emotions, into your actions. This was not part of my plan, so it scared me for a second. But the enemy had me ignore the warning and continue up to the top. But every time I think of life ending, there's always been this one thought that goes into my head. If I die, what will happen? Will I see just a black screen? Nothing at all? This is what I thought when I was up at the top. I thought of like, I love looking at trees. I love seeing the sun and clouds and grass and birds. If I die, what do I see? I'm not going to see that anymore, obviously. So what do I see? Just a black screen? Do I not see anything? Like, that always bothered me. And that always terrified me. And after that, it's, am I going to heaven? At that point, I didn't know scripture. I didn't know God. In a relationship with him, I wasn't born again. So no, I wouldn't have gone to heaven. And even if you are born again, you're not going to give your life through suicide, because God says endure to the end. He doesn't say leave the race, quit on me, try to take the easy way out. No, he doesn't say that. Noah had to get in the ark. He didn't have a plane come and fly him away to another land. He had to endure through the storm. And many other stories in the Bible had to endure through. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had to endure through the fire. Moses had to endure through parting of the Red Sea, the Egyptians chasing after them, and the Israelites. Moses and the Israelites. I won't be able to see the blue sky anymore, trees, grass, anything ever again, and for how long? Forever? Will it be like how a blind person views the world because they can't see, but in a tombstone in the ground? Do I go to sleep and never wake up again? That thought always terrified me. I didn't know what came after death. So because of that, I didn't know if I wanted to make that final move. So this would always steer me away from finding out and ending my life. But this time I was determined. Then I made a call to my best friend, Nate, but I didn't tell him what I was doing because I didn't want him to talk me out of it. I told him that I love him as a friend, and he said it back. Then he said, we'll hang out soon. Then I hung up. He had no clue what was going on. Then I made one last call to my sister because I wanted her to talk me out of it. Finally, I wanted someone to talk me out of it. I needed outside help. A cry for help. I told her where I was, and she talked me out of it. That's 2 times now that my life has been saved. I've just realized now I never thanked my sister for that. I don't believe I did. I have to thank her for that. She saved my life. God through her saved my life. That's 2 times now that my life has been saved. Thank you, God. Then I got down from the tree and deleted the suicide note off the computer when I got home because I didn't want my dad to know. My dad never knew, not even to this day. He never even knew. He died. He passed away because of the C virus. So that's what happened to my dad. He was in a retirement home in Romania, Bucharest, and passed away. He never knew. My dad never knew, not even to this day. I knew I had to leave that town or I would end up ending my life. My mom knew. My sister called my mom. My mom came with her boyfriend at that time that I met for the first time because she was out of my life. And this was the first time coming back to my life. And the way she came back was like, we're going to send you to a mental institution. You need help and blah, blah, blah. And that's not what I wanted. That's not what I needed. I needed my parents to say, what is wrong? Speak to me. I'm here for you. I love you. I don't want you to do this for yourself. I don't want this for you. How can I help you? That's what I wanted to hear. Not you need help. We need to send you here. I need help because of you and how you raised me, because of what I had to endure through all my life and no one there for me. So when she said that, it just put a bad taste in my mouth. Then I didn't want anything to do with her again. So I left all my family and moved to Los Angeles, the city of lost souls, where I pursued a career in modeling and acting. I moved into Britney Spears' penthouse with her old manager, Sam Lutfi. Britney was not there, and I never met her, but her little dog was there. I forget the name of her dog. I moved out first to San Diego with a friend who I met on the internet, who is a photographer. Lived with him for a bit. Then I realized if I'm going to be a model, I have to be where the industry is. And that's either New York, London, or LA. And I think Chicago is also on that list. It's just the big cities. So I saw New York more as like theater acting, and also LA is that because there's, TV shows and movies, but it's majority, as far as I knew back then, modeling. So I said, I need to move to LA. So he connected me with Sam. I moved in with Sam. It was really weird. I ended up going to this house. He left the money for me to give to my ride. I think I took an Uber or something, and he left it in a tree, like wedged in a branch. And that was weird to me that he wasn't out here with me. And I never met this person, didn't even know where I was moving to. I just had the focus of I need to be in LA, and if this is the person I'm staying with, then so be it. So I just took my friend's referral, trusted him, went to this guy. Well, I paid the person, went into this place like a mansion, never expected it. It was incredible to witness, trying to be a model, and I'm already experiencing what life is like when you become a huge model or a huge actor or whatever. And he was her manager before this time. And I went there, and this dude gave me a drink, and I just remember blacking out after that. Don't know what happened. And then the next day claims that there's roaches, whatever, that need to be exterminated, and people need to leave so they can do the extermination. So I stayed with another friend that I met online through the industry, who's a wardrobe stylist for Raven Simone, which is the That's So Raven girl. And stayed with him and his friend in a studio apartment on La Brea, right in the center of Hollywood, perfect spot. And that is when Sam never had me come back. He didn't come to get me when he said he was going to. That was his way of discarding of me. So clearly something happened that I'm not aware of. He got what he wanted and discarded of me. And he probably did the same with Brittany, and that's probably why they're not working together. Wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not even going to go into that. But that's the story with that. Then I lived with this friend for 2 years while chasing after my dream of acting. I did background work. I had a featured scene on CSI New York. The episode Crushed, season 8, episode 7, I believe it is. Then I did a featured scene as a stunt performer on Deadliest Warrior, Navy SEALs versus Israelites, versus Israel. Commando, what is it? I can't remember. I don't remember what episode that is. So you'll see me there. I've done some background work on One Tree Hill when I was in North Carolina. Background work on, trying to think of the shows that I did. I did many shows. Saw many stars. I'm not starstruck, so I didn't care. But it was cool to be behind the scenes of what you see on TV and be a part of the show as well. Because CSI New York was a big thing. I was an actor character that they chose. They upgraded me from extra to character that had a plot but not lines. And I was in a coma, and you could see me in a coma. But what else was there? How I Met Your Mother. I worked on that show. I worked on a lot of shows. CSI Miami, I think. There's many shows I worked on. It was a lot of fun. Did a lot of music videos as well as the lead. Persian music videos. He offered me a drink the night I moved in. The next day I was in the shower crying. I cried out to God. I told him to remove me from this situation and put me in a living situation with a woman. Fast forward, he said they were vacating for roaches and told me to stay with a friend. He would come get me when it's all over. He never did. The only person I knew was this other guy who was a wardrobe stylist for celebrities that I talked to when I was back in Massachusetts. He was a homosexual. And I ended up living with him and his gay friend roommate in a studio apartment. Thankfully, they weren't a couple, because that would be really awkward to witness, because I'm not gay. I lived with him rent-free for 2 years and then moved out. Fast forward, I met this girl named Sharina. Oh, jeez. Do I even want to mention this? One of the worst people I've ever met in my life. Most toxic. Fast forward, I met this girl, Sharina. She had a Jezebel spirit in her. I didn't notice, but my mom knew she was narcissistic. I didn't even know what narcissistic was. I knew there was something off about her, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I told her, like, when we went on a date, we met on a dating site. Then we went and met on a date in Hollywood. And I remember when I was sitting with her trying to have just a conversation with her, she was people watching. People watching, not even paying attention to what I was saying. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, who am I talking to? I'm trying to get to know you, and you're not even here present with me. So that was a red flag. Then we went back to my apartment. And I told her that we can't date because she's narcissistic. After my mom told her she's narcissistic, I looked up what it was. And it says you either deal with them or you move on without them. You live with them and deal with their toxicness and poison and living in hell with the devil's girlfriend, basically, or devil's wife, or you get rid of them and get your peace back. Or hopefully they find Jesus and he changes them like he did me. I used to be a Jezebel as a man because it transferred from my mom. That's why my sister also had that Jezebel spirit. Then I gave my life to Christ and gone. She cried, fake manipulative cry, which I now know. See, I care about people's emotions, so when they cry, it makes me cry. It makes me feel what they're feeling. When they're mad, I get mad for them because I feel what they're feeling. Almost like a chameleon that takes on colors around them, an identity around them, whatever. And I thought she was genuinely crying. Like she just found out for the first time and now she wants to change. As she told me, she said, I don't want to be. So I felt bad and felt maybe I could help her. I took the bait. So we dated. I thought I could take her on as a project and make her a better person because I thought genuinely that's what she wanted for herself. So I thought if I could be there as a support system to help her get to where she wants to be, she can achieve that goal and become that person. But I later found out that's manipulation of the Jezebel. It was a relationship from hell. I had a pattern of dating the cheerleader, older women with high sex drives, or girls with father issues who would verbally abuse me before her. She had a 6-year-old daughter. Sharina smoked weed in front of her daughter, smoked cigarettes, and was always drinking and partying. She was a pathological liar, bipolar, serial dater, and narcissistic cheater. Now, this is not me to talk bad about her. This is my testimony. This is what happened in my life. I have nothing bad against her. Yes, it was a relationship from hell, but I'm not resurfacing or like re-digging this back up and putting this person down. I forgive all. Forgive my mom, forgive Sharina, forgive anybody that did wrong to me. But this is my testimony. So I'm letting it be known. Her mother never accepted me from the start because her daughter got engaged to every man she dated. Her ex-boyfriend or fiance threatened to kill the mother, so she never gave me the time of day. That's what she told me. She said that her ex-boyfriend or ex-fiance, whoever he was, threatened to kill her mom, and that's why her mom said get rid of him, and they kept the kid that came from that husband, fiance, whatever, ex-boyfriend, and now he pays child support. So I think that's her way of getting money monthly for her addictions. But who knows? So she never gave me the time of day. She assumed I'm just another one of those guys, and I wasn't. Sharina would have to sneak around and lie just to see me. It was a constant battle. I actually took the time to write a really heartfelt, long letter to her mom to comfort her and to give her that safety that she doesn't have to worry about me, that I cared for her daughter in that moment and I wanted the best for her. And I was not there to harm her or her mother. But her mom took that as a threat. And after that, I saw the devil come out of her. So it is what it is. Fast forward, she was pregnant with my child. Her mother told her to get rid of it if she wanted to continue to be a part of the family. That made me furious. Because I've always wanted to be a dad. And this was my child and not hers. So I went yelling to her at the front door and she wouldn't answer. Again, it was raining. She then got a restraining order on me because she felt in fear for her life. Yeah, like I really harm people. That's the complete opposite. I'm a protector, not an abuser. That's what the report said. My first restraining order and last. So then the abortion happened. We were living homeless on the streets at this point and out of a car at one point for 6 months. One night she went to this modeling gig that paid a lot of money at night for a cell phone company inside a cell phone store. See, at this point, I was homeless because I had everything. I had a job. I had my apartment. I had my car. But these Jezebels, man, they come into your life like leeches that want to suck the life out of you. And they take everything in their path to take away your independence, to bring you and make you codependent upon them, because they have everything in their life still, but they want to take away everything you have, because if you have nothing, you're codependent upon them and what they have. So I had a job. She got me fired. She was texting me. I was texting her. She was supposed to spend the night one night, and I was texting her to make sure that she could get in because she was taking the bus to get to my apartment. Then I had to make sure my roommate was there to let her in. So while I'm working, which before her, I was never on my phone on the job. I was a crew member on film sets and his music videos, and I was never, ever on my phone. Work was my focus. Phone was after work was done because I was passionate about my job. So I was loyal to my employer. But she came into my life and became a distraction. And that day especially, I was on my phone. Hey, did you get in? No, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go stay with a friend instead. I'm like, well, who's this? What's this friend? What are you talking about? Why are you leaving? I can call and get the key, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just constantly on my phone. And he saw that. My boss saw that and he fired me. So because I was fired, now I have no income. I have a car, but her mom was moving to Redding, California, which was like 4 hours away or something like that. I can't remember. And me still being a nice guy that I am, I was willing to help her move into her new place. I had nowhere to leave my car because I had to leave my apartment because I couldn't pay rent anymore. And my car, I didn't have a storage unit to put it in. So she told me to sell my car. So I sold my car, lost my apartment, and moved away to help her mom. And we took a train to get there. And when we get there, her mom welcomes her daughter with open arms and tells me I can't come in. Yet I was there to help her mom move. And I gave up my life to do so. So now I'm homeless in Redding, sleeping in a tent because her mom wanted to be that monster. So it is what it is. That's facts. I'm not speaking bad of her. She had a demon working in her. That's facts. I forgive her. I've moved on, but that's what happened in that moment. I remember it visually. One night she went to this modeling gig that paid a lot of money at night for a cell phone company inside a cell phone store. I knocked on the door and this guy comes to the door with a gun held to his side. She's wearing a bikini. I told her, we are leaving. She yelled and cried, said, I'm controlling, etc. This is what they do. They project on you and they say, you're controlling, you're insecure, you're this, you're that, but that's actually them. And they make you that way because they purposely lie to you, make sure you find out so you have trust issues. They purposely are flaunting themselves sexually, either online through videos or photos or chatting on some website or some dating site or whatever. And they want you to find out. So that way you have insecurity issues and trust issues. And now you're worried about being cheated on. And they're constantly creating drama to reel you into their web of bull crap. So that night we fought out in public on the sidewalk. I got so angry that I ran out into the street of oncoming traffic trying to get hit and killed. It was right by the mall. What's that mall called? I can't remember that mall. It's a well-known mall in LA, right next to La Brea. The Grove, I think that's what it is. It was right by the Grove. And I was just done. She's that toxic that she gets in you emotionally in a way that you can't control. And it's a demon in that person. So you're wrestling with a demon. And it just got over me, and I was just like, I want to end my life. I want to end this right now, as if I could say we're done and you're out of my life, but I couldn't do that. So my way out was to kill myself. And I was just so angry and so emotionally messed up and dealing with a lot of stuff that she's put into my life, dressing like a prostitute everywhere she goes, taking public transportation, making herself known, telling me this guy looked at her and telling me about this job that's scandalous, and there's all this stuff that really bottled up anger and insecurity and so many things in my life. So I went out into the street at night, oncoming traffic. Again, you don't plan suicide. It just happens in the moment. No one honked, okay? It's like they didn't even see me. I didn't go like right in the middle lane. I went in the lane of where a car would definitely be. And no one honked. They just swerved around me as if the Red Sea parted. This is the third time in my life I was saved. Praise God. So you would expect someone to honk at you. You're in the middle of the street. But they didn't. They just went around me and just went about their day as if nothing happened. Like just a little obstacle in the road. It's a human being. But I guess it's normal in LA. You have homeless people that want to end their life, or that are on drugs or drunk, and they come out in the street. So maybe they're just used to it. And they thought I was one of those people. But no, I had intent of, you are going to kill me today. That was my intent. I didn't care to think about that person and how they would feel if they killed me, and how their family would feel. That was not the thought in my head. Thought was all selfish. I'm done. I hate my life. I want to end it. This is how it's going to happen. I see cars going by. That's an easy way. Done. Don't take that from me as a way to kill yourself. Do not kill yourself. Do not attempt to jump out of a tree. Do not attempt to jump in front of traffic. Do not attempt to hang yourself. I know movies have taught you how to kill yourself. Don't do it. It's trying to target the audience that is vulnerable, that will do it and will know how to do it now, and will end up doing it, and the devil get your soul. And you will burn in the lake of fire forever, for eternity. No rest, day or night. You don't want that. He wants that because he's a defeated foe. Revelation chapter 20, verse 10. He's a coward. I was over dating this girl at this point. It was another reality check. Like, I tried to kill myself. Yeah, I'm still here. What's going on? Why is this happening? Why can't I just die? That was my mindset. I was over dating this girl at this point. She hooked me every time because of sex. They use sex to lure you. They use their body to lure you into bed. They use their eyes, all that garbage. The whole relationship was nothing but sex. I went to drop her off at her house and break up with her once and for all. I tried to leave her many times before, but she would fake cry and make me feel bad. See, this is the problem. If you have a psycho in your life, don't break up with them in person. Do that to a person who deserves it, who is a sane person, because they can handle it and they deserve that. But a psycho person will manipulate you to stay in the relationship because they don't want you to be out of their grip, out of their control. That's your way of freeing yourself from them. They don't want to give you that freedom. So you send a nice little text, we're done. You block their number, get a restraining order, block them on all social media, whatever you got to do. Don't answer the door when they come. That's how you got to handle a psycho, because they don't leave. You have to literally kick them out. I felt bad for her carrying all her luggage up the street, so I drove her to the front gate. Big mistake. Gentleman side of me again, even after everything she put me through, I still wanted to be a gentleman and say, hey, I feel bad for you lugging your luggage all the way up the street to your house. Let me make it easier for you. Dumbest decision I ever did. The cops showed up in minutes to arrest me. I told them I'm done and I'm breaking up with her. She had told them right to my face. Right when I was there, she told him I was dropping her off for a family portrait, which was a lie because she couldn't accept me leaving her. So because there's luggage, she had to come up quickly with a reason why she has that luggage. So a family portrait makes sense. If you have a photo shoot, you bring a luggage full of clothes. And they bought that lie. And they arrested me on the spot because of the restraining order. I didn't even read the restraining order, so I didn't even know what it said. I didn't even know that I couldn't be within such amount of feet. I thought it just meant I couldn't be around her mom, and I wasn't trying to go in the house. I was at the gate, which has a code that I don't know. And I was not trying to go to the front door. I was just trying to drop her off and be done with her. But it's funny how a restraining order, cops are there right away, but when there's a crime, oh, where are they? Oh, I guess civilians have to take care of this problem. Oh, what a coincidence. I've never seen cops show up so fast. Jezebel has serious control over law enforcement. She had told them I was dropping her off, which was a lie because she couldn't accept me leaving her. They handcuffed me and put me in jail for breaking my restraining order of being too close to the house. I was in there for one night yet again. See, Jezebel's put you in prison because they have law enforcement on speed dial. Fast forward to my homeless experience, which was God's breakdown process for me because of how I was raised. I was spoiled, selfish, arrogant, cussed a lot, instigator, manipulator. I did drugs, weed only, drank alcohol, smoked cigarettes, was a womanizer, hateful, used people, used God's name in vain, looked to the sky and flipped God off at one point, etc. I was a bad boy. During this homeless experience, a transformation took place. It has made me grateful for anything. I came to know God more because I depended on Him every day for my survival, food, shelter, clothes, company, etc. It's funny because society tells you that homeless people are the poorest and that we should look down upon them and not help them, when in fact they can be the richest if they have God in their life. Because all distractions are removed from your life and you are completely focused on God. And it's funny that they tell homeless people get a job, but when I was trying to get a job, I couldn't put an address. I didn't have an address. I couldn't put my phone number down. I didn't have a cell phone. How am I supposed to pay a cell phone bill if I'm homeless? If I have to worry about my meal, how am I going to pay for a bill? How do they expect me to get a job and get out of my situation when you don't even give me opportunity to do so because you look down upon me because I'm homeless? That's the complete opposite. That's hypocritical as heck. Rich people are the poorest because they have all materials and no God. Just as Jesus said, the rich will not inherit the kingdom of God because their God is their money. Because they have all materials, no God. Without God, you are nothing. Most homeless people have God and no materials, but God is all they need. I became giving, loving, honest, loyal, selfless, humble, caring, grateful, no longer drinking, smoking, or doing drugs, etc. I became a gentleman. Then I met a woman named Monica who I ended up living with. She treated me like a king. She showed me love, respect, and never verbally abused me, not once. She was not like the other women that I dated, and she was much older. Besides Hannah, this was the only woman that made me feel like this is my life make me feel like this in my life at this moment. I felt this is what I deserve and I enjoyed it. So at that point, I told myself and took a stand that I would never allow myself to settle for anything less by dating someone toxic. And neither should you. She is Jewish and from Israel. We are not an equally yoked match, as I later found out. Fast forward to one day I looked at the cross around my neck and prayed that it, an object made by the hands of man, would protect me while I was riding my motorcycle. Then I kissed it. So I looked at it, put my trust and faith in it, kissed it, as in like confirming that trust and faith, and then going on my ride with my motorcycle. You put your faith in the hands of man because that object was created by man, God will make you pay for that. because your faith is supposed to be in Jesus Christ. It's supposed to be in God spiritually, not physically. Later that day coming home, I was riding my motorcycle and I was stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. But in LA, it's legal to lane split, ride in between the lanes. So you have a car here in one lane, a car here in one lane, another lane, and you ride in between that dividing lane. That's legal, and that's genius. Yes, accidents can happen from fools that want to speed down those lanes and risk their life, or from drivers that aren't paying attention and swerve over, that are impatient in bumper-to-bumper traffic. But for traffic flow, it's amazing. I get from one end to the other in 20 minutes, when any other time in traffic, it would take me like 45 minutes to an hour. And gas and emissions and all that. But it's very dangerous when it's bumper to bumper, because someone can get impatient and switch lanes at any moment from a standstill. And we know people in LA are impatient, always in a hurry, always in the go, rush, got to get to the office, got to get this job done, meet with this person for this interview, whatever. So a voice in my head, the Holy Spirit, which I didn't realize at the time, said, keep going straight, you'll be fine. And I felt peace about that. But the thing is, I never worried when I rode my motorcycle any other day. But today I felt the need, or that day I felt the need to kiss my cross, physical object, and put faith in it. It wasn't rosary. It's not that Catholic garbage. It was just a plain cross. No Jesus figure on it or nothing. And because I put my faith in the object made by hands of man and not God, God had me suffer the consequence. But he was still there with me. He told me, keep going straight, I'll be fine. And gave me peace about that. But the enemy already had me stirred up in emotions of worry and fear. So that peace didn't give me the peace that overcame the fear in my mind and in my emotions. So another voice, which was the enemy, said, turn off at this next exit. It's safer. A car could hit you at any minute. So he manipulated me to come away from not feeling and allowing God's peace, but to take his false peace instead of, take this exit. Isn't it wise? You don't want to get hit by a car. So if you take the exit, you're not going to get hit by a car. You don't have to worry about that. So that's safer. But you know how the enemy works? He's a liar. He's the father of all lies. He's a coward. He's a deceiver. So what happened that he said wouldn't happen is the thing that did happen, because he orchestrated it to happen. You see how that works? You see how New Age religion tells you this is for healing, bring it home and put your faith and trust in it, but actually what it's doing is bringing warfare over your home. You're trusting in this object to bring peace and safety over your home, but you're not having peace and safety. So that's kind of weird, because it's not meant for that. It's meant to be sold that way so people will buy the lie. But the actual product is meant to destroy you and your home. That's why God says, get rid of it. Burn it. That's exactly what he says. So I did. Keep in mind, any other day I lane split, no problem, and without fear, in the same traffic. But today emotions got a hold of me for the enemy's purpose of making me feel comfortable with exiting the highway and being in agreement with that voice. As I exited the highway, I ended up getting into an accident. The very minute I veered off, got off that ramp, sat at the bottom of the ramp, revving my engine because it sounds awesome with a motorcycle at the stop sign, and then taking a right. And when I took that right, the accident happened within like 5 seconds. And one of the witnesses said he was revving his motorcycle and then he sped down and caused this accident. That's a lie from the pit of hell, and you know you were lying. Yes, I revved my engine. What's wrong with revving your engine? That just because I rev my engine, I like the sound of it, doesn't mean I'm going to be a speed demon. I'm not going to speed in town when there's pedestrians and traffic lights. That's foolish. On the highway, yeah, open stretch, sure, I'll do that. No problem, I'll admit to that. But in city, no, that's stupid and foolish. So that made it look better for the claim of the person that did actually hit me, that wasn't paying attention, that had her boyfriend in the car with her, and she was talking to him and probably arguing with him. I don't know what happened, but she wasn't paying attention to the road, and she hit me. So it worked in her favor of that witnessed me switching lanes on the highway and then revving my engine at the stoplight. So it worked in her favor because it made me look like an aggressive driver. And that's not at all how it was. But we know how cops are. They hear the first story and then they just go with that. They don't listen to both sides. I can't speak for all, but many cops, they're like that. Hypocrites. I saw the car turning in front of me. As I exited the highway, I ended up getting into an accident. I saw the car turning in front of me, so I hit both brakes and locked up the tires. I skid 57 feet and smacked my head against the passenger door of the car. Then God's miracle happened. So basically, when I took that turn, I was lane splitting. Again, you can't just lane split on the highway. You can lane split in the city as well. And I was lane splitting. And I realized there's a turn here. So if I'm lane splitting, no one's going to see me because I'm in between cars. So I figured, hey, or maybe I was told in my mind, hey, you shouldn't lane split. Instead, you should move over a lane. Had I not done that, I would have been safe because by the time they turned, they would have passed me and then I would have passed them. But because I moved over a lane, now I'm at the timing of their turn. So he orchestrated this whole garbage. So I gave him that spiritual doorway to do so by trusting in a stupid cross made by the hands of man instead of God. So I gave him that legal right to torment me in my mind, in my emotions, without God protecting me from it. He protected me in a different way, but he allowed it to happen because I gave him that authority, I guess, through my free will. So I was like, hey, I'll move over into a lane and be like an actual car that you can see. But apparently she wasn't paying attention. So she just took the turn, hit me. And when I saw that she was turning, I was further away, 57 feet away. I saw I'm going to hit them if I don't hit the brakes. So I hit the brakes, but this is the first time I've ever slammed on the brakes. So I didn't know you can lock up brakes like that. So I locked up the front wheel and the back wheel and I slid. It was like a stunt scene of like Mission Impossible with my bike sliding beside me and I'm sliding on the pavement with it. And my head hit the passenger side door because she stopped in the middle of the lane like an idiot. And I hit the passenger side door and it caused me back pain now. Now I have back pain the rest of my life because of it. And I couldn't breathe because when I came off my bike, I hit the windscreen of my bike and it impacted my chest. I had a V mark here from the impact and I wasn't able to breathe. So God's miracle happened. The tires of the car, it's a Mercedes vehicle, not an SUV, just a regular car. The tires of the car drove over both of my legs, but I didn't have any broken bones or injuries, nothing to show for it. I didn't end up in a wheelchair. I had crutches that they gave me because it's just a procedure for leaving the hospital, but I didn't need them. And that was all glory to God. He just wanted to teach me a lesson, but he didn't want me to suffer. And yeah, I'm suffering back pain the rest of my life because the stupid idiots that I should have sued, the fire department, they put me in the stretcher and they just laid it down in the back of the truck. And that's when it hurt the most. It's because I already had pain and then they just boom. They don't gently make sure like I'm placed down. They just boom, down. And I was like, ah. So I should have sued them. But it is what it is. It's dead and done with now. It's back in 2015. Nothing to show for it. I couldn't breathe because the windscreen of the motorcycle impacted my chest. A woman came over and saw I was wearing a necklace with a cross on it and immediately assumed I was Christian. Interesting how the thing that caused the accident through my free will is the thing that God's going to make known was the reason for my accident. And the way he makes it known is have that be the focus of how I'm saved in that moment. She immediately started to pray out loud while her arm was holding mine. I felt volts of electricity go from her hand into my body. I kid you not. It's like when the emergency medical team, EMTs, take those pads and they go clear. That's what it was like, but it happened spiritually because it was God. After this, I was able to breathe immediately. This is the 4th time in my life I was saved. Praise God. But this time it was different. This time it was audible and showed obvious signs that it was through God. Do you see what happened here on this very specific day? God was there every time. My cousin pulled me out. My sister who saved me. The cars not hitting me in traffic. In the street. This woman praying over me. He was there every time. But those times I felt like that's just life. Like, yeah, my cousin was there to pick me up. Nothing to do with God. Yeah, those cars just swerved around. They just saw me. Nothing to do with God. And we do that a lot. God protects us so many times throughout our life, throughout our day even. And we don't give him that credit. We don't realize that he's there because it's spiritual. You're not seeing it happen. But he's there. It's not, oh, just because this person didn't do this or this happened this way. God made it happen that way for a reason. So remember that and don't ever forget it. Do you see what happened here on this very specific day? I put my trust into an object and not into God through spiritual faith. And because I did that, God allowed that object to be what would protect me instead of him. I allowed it to protect me. So he said, hey, you want to allow that to protect you? Then let's see if it does. And it didn't. Because through my free will, I chose an object over God. This is what's wrong with people that put things on their mirror to protect them while they drive, and they think like this dream catcher is going to protect them, or this rosary hanging from their mirror is going to protect them, or this ritual that they do to their car the minute they buy it is going to protect them. If you do that, you're putting your protection into the hands of man, and God is stepping aside because he's saying, you didn't come to me. You didn't come to me spiritually. We worship God in spirit and in truth, as scripture says, not physical objects. Anything about physical objects, he tells us to destroy. Not anything, but it's like the main things that are spoken about physical objects, made of stone, made of statue, made of gold, made of silver, whatever, made of wood. He says people worship this stuff. You should be burning it. You should turn from it. You should repent. So you should only worship the one God, and only him shall you serve. So it should be a wake-up call to you. Get rid of that stuff from your mirror, or have it there, but don't put faith in it. And rosary, get that out of there. That's spiritual. And that's spiritual to harm you. So is a dream catcher, actually. So yeah, get rid of that too. It's funny that dream catchers are supposed to catch your dreams and keep you from having nightmares. But my mom got me a dream catcher when I was a kid from UMass College, because she worked there as a janitorial. And I got to go there as a kid and play on the court. It was cool. And they have little kiosk things that you can buy stuff from. And she bought a dream catcher, and I put it on my bed, above my bed, and I had nightmares all the time. Didn't catch no dreams. It's a portal that you open through a physical object that they put witchcraft over to bring into your home, to bring that havoc, that spiritual torment, that spiritual warfare into your home. You welcome it willingly because you go and buy it and you place it where it's supposed to be. And you say whatever it's supposed to say over it. Not dream catchers, but other things. You're supposed to say some witchcraft stuff before you place it or before you light it or whatever. That's your consequence. Turn away from that garbage. Okay. Because through my free will, I chose an object over God. The enemy deceived me, and that allowed him to have free reign over me without God's protection. But it wasn't my time to go. So God sent a woman who witnessed my accident and the car driving over my legs to pray over me through her faith spiritually and allow God to intervene on my behalf. After the accident, my witness told me that she wasn't even planning on going down that street to begin with. She said I should have had a broken neck and been in a wheelchair. I left the accident with no broken bones, but severe back pain that hurts me to this day. She said she witnessed a miracle. When I heard those words loud and clear, that's when I knew she was my guardian angel and that God was protecting me through her in that moment. I heard those same words from an accident before this one where a car turned left and cut me off. I flew off my motorcycle and flipped over the car and landed on my back on the cement with no padding on. I had no protection. I rode with a t-shirt and shorts, t-shirt, jeans, boots, whatever. Again, no broken bones or injuries or even pain that day. I flipped over a car onto cemented road. Went home like it was nothing. Bike was totaled. Had to walk home. Thankfully, it wasn't that far away. And of course, the claim was in the favor of both of us because we both had the same insurance company. And they lied about what happened, and I told the truth. And the insurance company's like, well, it's a loss no matter what, so let's just split both ways, 50-50. And the other accident, the one with the motorcycle sliding with me and hitting my head against the passenger side door, that accident was in my favor. I only got $3,000 out of it. $3,000 for severe back pain for the rest of my life. Because supposedly these people didn't have assets to go after. So it is what it is. A witness told me from the other accident, a witness told me that he was not planning on going down that road that day. So I heard this twice in a row. Twice in a row. Not even like a long time in between. I think it was like a week or something. I can't remember. Because the city is very dangerous to ride on because it's slow paced and people are impatient. And they're not looking for motorcyclists. They're busy on their phones, texting, phone calls, doing their makeup, whatever it may be, looking at their LCD screen, who knows? The Holy Spirit told him to take a nice ride down Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. That's the street I was on. Then he said he witnessed a miracle. So I heard miracle twice. And I heard twice that they weren't supposed to go down that street, but something told them to go down that street. So this second accident is where my faith truly began, because I heard miracle twice. This is when I chose to not just believe in Jesus for my salvation, but to follow him as the Lord and the only Lord and Savior over my life, and to do as he commands, seeking God's will over my life. Before I tried to get by with, I just believe in Jesus and I'm thankful he died on the cross for me and that was it. But I'm going to go live my life how I want. That's you being your own God. That's the devil deceiving you to making you believe that you have salvation at the end of your life. Jesus said you must be born again. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Do my Father's will. If you're being your own God, you're not doing any of that. You're your own boss. So who's the Lord over your life? Following Jesus as Lord is he's Lord over your life. You're sacrificing yourself to follow him. And that's what I chose to do that day. Fast forward, I worked on a music video and my role was to play the character of Jesus. I was so excited. I thought it was biblical Jesus. I've always wanted to play Jesus because I know I could present him in the way that he is. That was the last role that I played in the entertainment industry. Then I retired. And because I can grow out the beard, and, we don't know what he looks like specifically, but if he had a beard, I could grow it out, look like that figure that we are always shown in movies. And, there's also a Catholic Jesus, which I'm about to get into. I realized that I played the Catholic Jesus, the lowercase false god Jesus, which is a pagan god named Caesar Borgia. God revealed this to me and the subliminal messages they had me do in the music video by pointing my finger up and one finger, and on my other hand pointing my finger down, meaning as above, so below. That's the devil falling from the sky as above, and now he lives in hell, so below. So that's a thing in the cult industry. You'll see them doing that, artists doing that. That's pledging allegiance to Satan. Publicly, but not openly known. Only people that are in the know about that symbol, whatever you want to call it, that message. So I should took as a red flag that I couldn't find the outfit they wanted me to look for. They wanted me to go like these Halloween stores to find like this Jesus costume, and no matter where I looked, how hard I looked, I couldn't find anything. I should have took that as a red flag. and just been like, you know what, I can't do the job. But me, I don't give up. I'm passionate about something, so I endured through, went to the shoot. They told me they got the outfit. Everything was set up. So this was a rap artist. I'm not going to say his name. I don't remember his name, but it was very demonic, new age religion garbage from the pit of hell music video that I was a part of. And I was told Jesus would not be disrespected. I said, I'm only going to do this role if you don't disrespect Jesus. But to them, they think it's not disrespect because they're Catholic. So they think that they're following the Messiah, the biblical Jesus. So they're like, oh no, we would never do that. But they're not realizing they're following the deceiving Jesus that Satan created. A false light Jesus, false Messiah Jesus, his counterfeit Jesus. And that's why all celebrities, or most celebrities, the church they go to is Catholic. Because the devil's not going to have you work for him and then find the true Christ and still work for him. He's going to deceive you that, hey, if you have faith and you want to promote that faith to others because you're my puppet as a celebrity, as a known person, then I want you to promote a false Jesus, not the biblical Jesus, because that works against me. I need you to promote a false Jesus. So I need you to go to this Catholic church and I need you to live out this lifestyle and make you believe that you're following faith, make you believe you're growing in God, make you believe that you're going to have heaven after you die. But when you die, if you don't find the real Jesus, you're going to realize I deceived you all this time and I used you as a puppet of mine to get and recruit other people into the same church that you go to. So that's how that works. My mom was Catholic, my wife was Catholic, and they both left Catholic and became born again. Praise God. And my other hand pointing the finger down, as above, so below. I saw Busta Rhymes on the set and knew then that it wasn't a good place, let alone godly, because that guy's evil as hell. Then God put in my heart to leave the industry altogether, and I did immediately without question. I'm going to tell you, when I was on that film set, I felt like I was in the devil's dungeon. I literally felt every demonic spirit that each of these artists were possessed with. I felt like I was in a meeting with demons. It was the most uncomfortable feeling ever. Nothing to do with God. And that's why after that, I retired from the industry completely and forever. And I did immediately without question. It was my only source of income at the time as well, but I didn't question it. I just did as God willed for my life and led me to do. Then he had me work for him by creating this online ministry where he spoke messages through me to glorify his name and help his children and those seeking him. It was called Seek Jesus John 3:16 on Instagram. So God told me and led me to leave the industry. And now I told you at that time of that accident, I planned to do as he willed, not as Michael willed. He's the Lord over my life. I'm following him. He's not following me. So if he tells me to do something, I don't say no. I don't say maybe. I don't say we'll see. I say yes. If you have a boss, they don't tell you to do something. You say, okay, we'll see if I do that. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get around to that. You'll be fired. You'll be written up. You'll be gone so fast. You wouldn't do something so foolish. So that is the same thing as Lord. He's your boss, but he's a loving boss. He's your father. So you do as he commands because it comes from love. It doesn't come from control. It doesn't come from manipulation. It comes from love. It's for your benefit, your protection. I also had a page called Deny the Mark You Were Warned, which I warned about the mark of the beast. Then I made a page, Prayers with Love. I had people send in prayer requests. That was very time consuming, so I had to let that one go. I had a YouTube channel under Seek Jesus John 3:16 as well, but now those are all gone. Part 15 below. I've never looked back, and now I live for God with honor, loyalty, and obedience to his will and guidance in everything in my life. I am a warrior for the King. I realized he saved my life all those times because my purpose is for him to use me to save the lives of others by bringing them to Jesus Christ and giving him all the glory. Fast forward to the last part of this testimony and my current life that I live now. I moved from California to Utah. I lived homeless there out of the bed of my truck until I got a job. I finally got a job. I lived out of the bed of my truck until I could save up enough money to get an apartment. I worked at Park City ski resort. Park City Resort, and Park City is absolutely gorgeous. If you've ever been to Utah, go to Park City. Park City is beautiful, expensive, but it's worth it. It is absolutely gorgeous. I didn't care much for Salt Lake City. Not really into the city look. This was more of like a smaller city, so it was really cool. I'm not into the big city look. I lived homeless there out of the bed of my truck until I got a job, finally got a job. Then I found an apartment that helps people with low income. Now I had my own apartment, truck, and job. I loved my job at the ski resort in Park City. I was a ride operator and loved interacting with others. I love jobs where I interact with people. I love to feel their energy and exchange energy together and give them joy for the day and help them find what they need to make their day easier and take stress off their life and stuff like that. Like, I love to interact, get to know people. I don't get to know like on a personal basis, but get to know like in that moment of like, hey, you enjoy the ride, this, that, like to tend to them. That's what I enjoy. I don't like a job that I'm all alone doing my own thing. That's miserable. Day goes by quicker when you're talking to people, you're around people, you're constantly seeing traffic and just all of that. I would always make videos for my online ministry while at work. I risked it. I said, this is a gorgeous view. I take a ski lift, a chair lift up to where my job is. So I'm like, hey, at that time I'll do a video. And I did a quick video like these, but they were like 1 minute videos. They weren't long. And I did that for the ministry. And I loved it. The Lord would always place words for me to speak to his children. Toward the end of the year, when it was starting to turn into winter, my job let me go because I have a bad back. And I mentioned my back pain because of shoveling. And I wasn't fit anymore for that change of position for the winter time. So I moved back home to Massachusetts to live with my mom. I worked on my ministry from my home and came across this one specific girl that caught my attention with her profile photo and activity on my page. So when I was living in Utah, I had to sell my truck so that I could move back home with my mom. I wasn't going to drive all the way from Utah to Massachusetts with my truck. It wasn't a brand new truck. It was a used truck, lifted truck, lots of gas, V8, Ford F-150, FX4. So yeah, I was not going to. Even though I wanted to, it was a nice truck, black leather interior, white exterior, frost white exterior. I just couldn't do it. So fortunately, when I moved back home with my mom, I had no means of transportation. At the time, I was trying to raise money for a motorcycle. People thought I was trying to just get a bike for fun, but actually in California, that was my only mode of transportation, and I was completely content with that. I didn't want a car. It was so much better to just put my helmet on, put my jacket on, and hop over my bike and just go for a ride. Cheap gas, cheap insurance, get to where you need to, and half the time, it was genius. So I didn't need a car. So that was my mindset still going back to Massachusetts, even though Massachusetts is not anything like California and they have winter. I forgot about that. So people thought I was just using them to raise money to get a motorcycle just because I was using people that would give me money. And that wasn't the case. I was in the mindset of, if I'm gonna have transportation here, it's gonna be a motorcycle because it's the cheapest route. But they didn't see it that way. So they ridiculed me and talked bad about me, and people stopped donating after that and helping out when I needed it, unfortunately. The only reason that I went into even asking people for money, which is not easy to do, which feels very vulnerable, is because when I was in LA with that truck, the person that sold me the truck, they lied to me. They said it was a good truck, this, that. Lifted truck is what I wanted. The enemy led me right to them. When I was test driving the truck, he was with his wife in the car, young kids, young adults. And I wanted to drive further. Like, okay, we can go back now. They didn't want me to pick up speed. They didn't want me to realize that the transmission is going. So they made it a quick test drive, return back home. They tried to sell me the tires that were in the back of the truck to me that came from the truck that they replaced with bald tires basically that are on the truck. And these are scam artists. And shame on you for being that person. And I hope God changes your heart because you guys are a disgrace. But what they did to me is they lied to me. And it's no surprise because when I was a kid and I had to sell a car to get the next car because I wasn't working. So I had to sell this car in order to have enough money to buy the next car so I have a means of transportation. I had a transmission going, manual transmission going with my sports car. It was a 3000 GT Mitsubishi. And I didn't let that be known to the person that picked up the car. And back then I was that evil person side of me that took advantage of people, lied to people, manipulated people, whatever, only was selfish thinking. And the minute they got the car, they ended up calling me saying, hey man, you didn't tell me the transmission was going this and that. And I was like, well, it's your problem now. You know, it's sold as is. And I was that person once in my life, never did it again. And at that point, I was in survival mode of like, I'm sorry, like if I had told you, I would have got less and then I wouldn't have a car. So it doesn't make it right, but that was my mindset. That's why I did what I did, not to intentionally like scam someone, but just because I felt that's what I needed to do in order to be able to get another car. So what you reap, you sow. I mean, what you sow, you reap. And I sowed in bad and I reaped out bad. And the same thing happened to me later on in life. It doesn't happen, maybe not happen right away. It could happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but what you sow, you will reap, as scripture says. So that happened to me. Then I told people, this is what I'm living out of, living in the parking lot of Walmart, in the parking lot of LA Fitness, whatever it may be. And actually it was Walmart. Walmart was a place that lets you stay in their parking lot. People have trailer homes and stuff. So I was like talking to the ministry. I'm like, what do I do? You know, I need $1,500. I think it's $1,500 to have this transmission rebuilt. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I asked the community and they told me, you should set up a GoFundMe. And I was like, what's that? I don't even know what that is. So then someone, told me the process of how it works. I set it up. Within a week, I got that $1,500 because it was God providing for me through these people. And that's when I realized, like, if I really need help, not to take advantage of people and their money, I don't ever do that, never have, never will. But if I really need help and I have no other means, no other way, I realize this is a way that will help me. And it's God leading them to do so. I'm not guilting them. I'm not saying I have nowhere to live. Help me move into a mansion. It's just, hey, I have no food. If you could send money so I could get something to eat, that would be helpful. And that's why I got comfortable with the whole donation thing. But at first, I never even knew anything about it. I've never asked anybody for money. But when it comes to time of desperation and survival, you have no choice. You got to do what you got to do, and you got to be vulnerable. All right, we're an hour and a half in. Wow. Okay, I guess there's a part 3. So part 2 again will be in the description box, comment section below. This is almost done. So part 3 should be pretty short. And I will post part 3 as well in the description box in the comment section below. God bless.